Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. It's so great to be amongst all you randos here. Oh, what a beautiful day it is as Amber Heard just can't help herself, and she's out there playing the victim tour. And we are going to break it down. I'm so excited because we have our very own Linda is here. What's up, Linda?
Hi, everyone.
So happy. Linda is an expert at this. We are shoving her in the spotlight. I'm so happy to have her doing this with us. Also, it's Kim. Welcome, Kim. How are you, Kim?
Hey, I'm good. Happy Monday.
Oh, guys, I did not expect this to happen on a Monday. When I saw this, I was like, oh. And then I saw that today is stretching this over 3 days. And I thought, all right, we're gearing up. That's 3 more days. We're going to get active. I'm going to get on this. Thank you, Amber. I guess we got 3 more days of nonsense to talk about as this woman's out there trying to peddle and spin the narrative that everyone's wrong but me. They're all lying but me. I've still done no wrong. How dare they? Johnny's a character. I can't blame the jury. He's not a human being. He's just a persona. And everyone just falls for it. Everyone just perjures themselves left and right for Johnny Depp. But me, I'm telling the truth. She sat with Savannah Guthrie. For a sneak preview. We got about like 2.5 minutes of this interview that's going to debut tomorrow. You bet your butt we'll be here watching it with you. We'll probably do like a standalone, and then in the afternoon we'll break down the whole thing. And then on Wednesday, part 2. Yes, a 2-day, 2-part. Kim, just when you thought it was over, she pulls us back in.
I am Daniel Radcliffe with the whole Slapgate situation. I am so dramatically bold.
Well, it's just wild.
I mean,
I think people don't want to watch, but wouldn't they rather watch with us, Kim?
Oh, absolutely they would. And if you check out the numbers, it's quite clear on that front as well.
Yes.
Which has been cracking me up. But, I think it's funny because I see people in the chat like, you guys need to cover something different. It's like, we would if that was what you guys wanted to see.
We were just starting to. We were just starting to get there, and we will.
It won't go away.
Everyone's like, Andy, you need a randos shirt. I know. You now are my randos. I was like, Planeteers, I feel like we got to embrace the randos. We are these so-called randos that we'll get to in a minute. So we will. All right, but Linda, I don't want to bury the lead here. I'm excited because, Linda, you have a background working in like the court systems, et cetera, like, doing transcripts and also identifying like behavior tells as you're doing so. And you were doing this wonderfully throughout our coverage. Guys who don't know, Linda was breaking down a lot of our notes during the trial. Every witness that was coming down, she was using her note tactics to really break down a lot of intel and behavior analysis. Can you tell the folks at home, though, a little bit about what you do and a little bit of your expertise here?
So when I did do behavioral analysis in the past, it was for certain agencies, and pretty much the goal was to find or see if there was any ill will, intentions of people that were to be pretty much guardians, not like in conservatorship, but guardians for people who are mentally and physically disabled and nonverbal. And so pretty much we would see if these people were truly fit to be handling or overseeing someone's money, their assets, even their lives physically and their bodies. When it comes down to their care, their medications. So we did this a lot, and pretty much I hate saying it's judging people, but unfortunately it is. That's the task at hand, but it's for a good purpose to make sure you have the right person in place.
Yeah, I mean, all these behavior panels, they're all judging. I mean, they're all using their expertise of what they've learned to break down the tells of is someone being honest. And look, I can already tell. I think most of us can tell this stuff. I don't need a behavior panel to show me the faults in Amber's stories, but I wanted to break it down because you were sharing some interesting insight that perhaps people may not be catching like we maybe are, and you're also going to add something that we're going to miss. So I wanted to break through and watch this one more time with you guys. I figured easier to watch the preview to already get a sense of what to expect before we watch tomorrow. So that way you guys tomorrow, when you watch these next clips with us or without us, whatever, you know what to look for, and you know what already the tells are as what's a red flag that something's not being genuine. Real quick, Haunted Hijinks, thank you so much. I've donated, not pledged, donated, and became a next level member. I do not use the two synonymously. Well, thank you, Haunted Hijinks. Speaking of donations and pledges, that's a whole part 2 of the show is going to go into great detail about how, again, mainstream media is already still trying to shame YouTubers for making money off this trial. I'm so frustrated by this narrative. I don't understand why we are creating the stigma that YouTube creators don't deserve to get paid as well, while these mainstream media outlets and these journalists don't want to reveal their salaries and how much the Washington Post has made off said defamatory op-ed on their, click to pay systems. I need you guys to help me stand up against this because I'm sick and tired of it. It's not just about me. It's about all creators on this platform. Yeah, we're allowed to get paid. It's our job, and we did a lot of work. And 3 creators specifically were backed in a corner to sort of reveal their what did they made on super chats? And I was horrified by this. What other outlet is forced to do this? Can you imagine going up to CNN and be like, we demand to know, we're going to post inaccurate details about how much you made. So if you want us to have these inflated, exaggerated numbers, you better tell us the truth or everyone's going to think you've made all this money. The tactics are sickening, and what now I'm deeming old media, as some of these people online are calling it, this war that's brewing. I don't really want to create a war, but I'm going to defend ourselves as creators, and we're going to be talking about that in part 2 of the show. So lots to get through, a jam-packed show, as well as your comments, questions. We'll be getting to them, but let's go to the lead topic here, which is Amber Heard sitting with Savannah Guthrie and NBC News. All right, so we have the full interview up here. Linda, before we even start playing, is there anything you want to sort of start us off with of what was the biggest tell you noticed in watching even just this clip?
So pretty much her tiny slips are huge tells. They might seem like, it's a tiny little nothing. So when she is doing certain things with her facial expressions, check into her eyes. Where is she locking into? Is she locking into the background, or is she locking in directly to the interviewer? It shows if she's got confidence in what she's saying or not. Usually when she looks away is when she kind of loses her pace of things and train of thought. That's when you know it's possibly scripted and rehearsed. Simple things like her eyebrow twitching movements, and when she corrects herself. It is the tiniest little thing, but it is huge.
Well, you called it self-correcting, something as you were to explain to me. Like there's moments where she literally will she'll choose a reaction as if everyone's with her, and then you can notice when she's almost like looking to see if the person's engaging and believing, and if not, she really does this sort of self-adjust, this self-correct. That's a thing?
It's a behavioral modification is what some people say is the term. In this case, I personally feel that she knows exactly what she's doing, what she's saying, whether it's right or wrong. So when she says something, and we had discussed this during the trial, where she was looking at the jurors and she was locking into certain ones that she felt comfortable with, that she can do her performance with as if it was an audition. So pretty much she will try everything to lock in and feed off of the person and the environment she's in. So if she sees that she says something and the person she's looking at kind of like takes a look back or has a reaction to it, she will counter react to that. She is not a dum-dum. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah, no, we can all be mad at her, but I have to agree with you. She is not a dum-dum by any stretch of the imagination. She's very calculated in what her choices are. All right, let's begin this, and you can start and stop. If there's something before I do, let's watch the first moment.
I don't care what one thinks about me or what judgments you want to make about what happened in the privacy of my own home and my marriage behind closed doors.
I mean, right out the gate, she's already lying. This implication that she doesn't care. I mean, I don't need any expert. Kim, are you with me? Do you need any expert to tell you that she's already lying? I don't care what people think about me. I mean,
this is the person who hid boxes and boxes of multiple copies of magazines that she was in her garage.
Yes.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what people think about me, but I'm here with you right now to tell people what to really think about me, because I don't care, but I'm just doing it just cause. I mean, I thought this is the woman who wants to move on. Isn't she going to move off to Joshua Tree to live with hipsters and move on with her life and just get on with it? No, she can't, because she cares. And the reality is, like, I don't fault her for caring, right? Fine, of course, but don't lie about it and say you don't care, because you're already out the gate. You're already lying again to this implication that you don't care. Like, come on, Linda, what you could? Is there any other thing there that we're missing, or is that already just big enough that it's just such an obvious lie?
It's clearly obvious. It's common sense. I mean, why else would she be doing this interview? Why else would she have tried to countersuit for defamation? I mean, it's common sense, and it's making her look worse that she's just pretty much digging herself a deeper hole. She's pretty much saying that we're dumb, but we know what's going on. Like, clearly, it's common sense.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've thrown around the term sociopath, and people have criticized, like, oh, wait, but this is really now becoming sociopathic behavior to me. The levels upon the lies and the gaslighting and the narrative shifting, like, this is scary how definitive she's talking to Savannah Guthrie, who I know is trying to be unbiased, is going to try to be unbiased and be fair and listen to her. That's her job to do, so she gets these interviews, so she's not too damning. But I really hope she pushes back a little bit. But we saw it with Camille. Like, Amber doesn't care. She will go against anybody, and whatever she says is factual. Everybody else is not telling the truth, and it's frightening. All right, but here we go. Tell us when you see something else to point out, Linda.
I don't care what one thinks about me or what judgments you want to make about what happened in the privacy of my own home and my marriage behind closed doors.
I mean, right there, sorry, but it's like right there. I don't care what judgments people make behind me behind closed doors. She clearly cares because you're specifically pointing out what you care about, which is the fact that people are making judgments about you behind closed doors. It's not even like Savannah opened up the question. Like, you're specifically telling us what you care about, but saying you don't care about it. Right, Linda?
Yes. And right here is when it starts, where she starts to do a side mouth talk. A lot of people might say, oh, maybe that's just how her mouth movements are. Some people talk like that. I do sometimes. But with her, it's very telling that we've watched her speak for days on end with this trial. So we know her go-to mannerisms, I'd say.
Yep.
But with her, just watch when she's doing her side mouth speaking, just connect it to what she's saying at what points.
Here we go. Tell us when you see
the
it.
Privacy of my own home and my marriage behind closed doors.
Right
I
there.
don't presume the average person should know those things, and so I don't take it personally. But even somebody who is sure I'm deserving of all this hate and vitriol, even if you think that I'm lying, you still couldn't look me in the eye and tell me that you think on social media there's been a fair representation. You cannot tell me that you think that this has been fair.
Like, so that's the soundbite that I feel like they've been testing out in the waters, and she really wants to get out there of it wasn't fair. You can't tell me that Johnny Depp doesn't have more famous fans than I do. You can't tell me that Johnny didn't have more support than I did. I don't understand what any of this has to do with anything. Like, this is such a weird spin she's already doing, because it's like, it's so offensive to the judge, to the jury, to the art of due process. Nobody. It doesn't matter how famous he is. There was no way. You can't tell me that there wasn't more on Team Johnny than me. And there's so many reasons which we're going to break down. But Kim, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
I think what bothers me so much about this statement, she's saying, you can't say that it's been fair, like the way that social media has been to me and everything else. Can we just be 100% real for a second? Has social media been 100% fair to Johnny?
To anyone?
What about Camille?
True.
What about Ben? What about Elaine? How about Rottenborn? How about any living person on this planet? Has something ever happened to you on social media that you feel is unfair, that someone's made an unfair assumption about you or said something that's not true? The second that you go on social media, that happens. That happens.
Yeah.
Right, and let's not ignore all the gross things that she did on social media, including her bestie, Eve Barlow. She was fanning those flames all the time. She was absolutely a part of the social media war. She didn't step away from it. Her girlfriend wasn't stepping away from it. They engaged in it. They fueled it. So step away from it if you want nothing to do. And of course you're gonna do more right now. But even Linda, I'm coming to you. But I'm just so. I guess it's so frustrating. You can't tell me. You can't tell me. Yes, we can. Go ahead. Sorry.
So that would kind of be my answer to her. I would look her in the eye and say, you know what? No, I can't tell you that it's been fair. But I can also tell you that it hasn't been fair to everyone else. So why is it that in your case, you are more important and it should have been fair to you?
Exactly.
That's what I would like to know. And I'm not talking about people harassing her and like threatening her or whatever. We've been very open on this show that that's not cute. We don't need to do that. We have the evidence on our side regardless. So you don't need to be doing that. It's not okay. But like, she is no better than any other celebrity, any other public figure. And social media is never fair to them.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
gonna leave that there.
No, that's exactly how we're all feeling. I'm pretty sure. Amen to that.
Yes.
I mean, she's so self-centered. That's the issue. And that's pretty much what comes through. Even when she's trying her damn hardest to not show her true self, it just still comes off that she's absolutely self-centered.
Well, that's what's the biggest interesting to me about people who are defending her at this point. Like, how can you sit here and not watch the ego and the self-righteousness and not like be a little bit like, oh, do we really want to defend this person? Like, it's frightening to see how many people are still getting gaslit by her as she continues to spin this into, you can't tell me this was a fair trial. Yeah, well, yeah, we can, because and she's trying to spin the reaction to her lies as unfair social media practices, but it's like, dude, you caused that by lying. By doing your actions caused victims and so many people to be so angry based on all the lies you've been telling for a while. Of course there's going to be a reaction to that. What do you think? We're all going to be like, oh, who cares? Who cares that you lied about America's favorite pirate and you've been doing it for 6 years? Who cares that you weren't actually being honest and everything? Who cares? Of course there's going to be a reaction.
It's been a fair representation. You cannot tell me that you think that this has been fair.
Of course, we also touched on what happened.
I mean, I hope
Jury
Savannah's like, well,
decided.
yeah, it is fair.
There's no polite way to say it. The jury looked at the evidence you presented. They listened to your testimony, and they did not believe you.
Why, first of all, Savannah, why do you have to be polite about it? Why do you have to be polite? Like, you can already just tell there's like a kid gloves here. Like, just
He's trying.
say the
you know?
quest, but be honest. Like, Amber, I know you keep saying this, but are you really calling all the jury and the judge liars who are in the web of Johnny Depp? Like, I wish someone had the guts to really push back. We're not in a court of law now. This is an interview. And Savannah Guthrie, come on. The world doesn't believe her. And you don't have to be mean about it, but you can ask tougher questions. You don't have to be polite about the fact that you lost. No one believes you. No one believes you. It's a very small amount of people believe you. The jury didn't believe you. It seems the judge was really unhappy with the way your team was handling things. Your own friend got kicked out of court for behavior that was questionable. There seems to be a lot of reasons why people don't believe you, Amber, to really push back on this. And I do you think she's gonna in the long form interview, or do you think it's gonna be a lot more kid glove questions?
I think she might. In this clip, you see her poke a little bit at her. So she's poking at the bear, you know, and like you said, we're not in court anymore. It's not a boxing ring, you know, so pretty much I think she's going to be fair grounded, but I think she's going to continue poking at her and possibly let Amber spill, you know, and spew out her negative energy and true colors for everyone to see.
They thought you were lying.
How could, put it this way, how could they make a judgment? How could they not come to that conclusion? They had sat in those seats and heard over 3 weeks of nonstop, relentless testimony.
A trial? They sat through a trial where you both had equal amount of time to present your evidence and facts and responses and hearsay and objections. And how could they not? Are you calling Elaine dumb? It sounds like she's calling Elaine and Roddenborn dumb with this too.
I
From
love this
paid-
point I love this point so much because it's like they listened to 3 weeks of it. Yeah, we also listened to 3 weeks of character assassination on Johnny Depp.
Yes.
We also listened to 3 weeks of trial of your legal team going correct, correct, and going on about the Muffin Man.
Correct.
Objection, hearsay.
Correct.
You asked the question.
Also, you have to notice how many times does she repeat saying, how could they? How could they? She does it again, she repeats it after this little part of the clip. But I feel like that is her action to go to sentence. That's pretty much, I feel that is rehearsed. Like, clearly she had plenty of time to review the trial, see what she looked like, how her answers came off, how they sounded. So for this interview sit down, she was definitely prepared. People might get mad if I say scripted, but she definitely was prepared and rehearsed all her wording, because when she repeats, how could they, you see her tensing up, trying to make that pressure, putting on that pressure to put on a little bit more of a performance, to make it believable, or that she's showing some sort of emotion. So she does repeat that a few times in here.
Yeah, I mean, the whole reaction here just is a whole performance of, so I'm just going to laugh at that serious question because that's ridiculous. She's already like reacting in a way. I want to watch one more time.
How could... I'll put it this way.
I'll put it this way.
How could they make a judgment? How could they not come to that conclusion? They had sat in those seats and heard over 3 weeks of nonstop, relentless testimony from paid employees.
Oh, man. Again.
They weren't all paid.
They weren't all paid. That's a lie. She's now spinning this again in the defense of just like, you don't listen to what you're told. Don't listen to the trial. Doesn't matter. Listen to the Amber Show.
And towards the end of the trial, randos, as I say.
So you don't...
Look at that. And that was, correct me if I'm wrong, that is a self-correct.
That is the one.
That is like the most obvious thing I could tell. Like, she goes off in a laugh, like what her and Eve are. Look at these randos they're pulling. You're calling, and we'll get to one of the randos who's very adamantly calling them out. He's now already changed his name to Rando Number One. I'm talking about Morgan from Hicksville. I'm trying to get Morgan on the show. Apparently, Morgan thinks I'm biased because I used a hashtag for Johnny Depp. Morgan, I'm biased towards the truth. You clearly are too. This woman is abhorrent. What she's done to so many people and survivors, it's awful. I'd love to get them on. I've been trying to get them on. But yeah, dude, what she's doing to you is horrific. She's saying you perjured yourself. It's unthinkable, the resort she will go to. But yeah.
Well, randos, as I say.
She laughs because she's like, that's right. And then she catches herself. Wait.
So you don't...
I didn't mean that. I'm confused. It's his face. His face, she did so much. I stepped on a bee.
My dog stepped on a bee.
That's like the sort of mid-reaction confused face. Linda, what is this?
What is this? Her self-correction is extremely noticeable. And honestly, it might not even be her fault. I don't think she can control it at times. And when she tries to play it off a little kinder, softer, to correct that mistake or slip up, I think she just absolutely tears it apart, makes it worse. She exaggerates the tiniest of things, like we heard with Dr. Curry. So even when she's playing off her own words, she over exaggerates either too much in one direction and in the other. It's just, I don't think she can really control herself from slip ups. We've seen it in the trial when she corrected herself. I believe it was about, I don't know if we could say it, the PILLS, that it was too much after she said a handful or two. It was only two. She corrected herself multiple times throughout this. And like the randos, she noticed the reaction of that word wasn't perceived well. Kind of like when she called Johnny's kids weirdos. And because she took that back right away saying, oh, I didn't mean that like that. I mean it in a good way. So she clearly has showed us multiple times that she feeds off of the people that she's speaking with or that are the people to be judging her. So in other words, it shows that she is truly very fake in representing herself.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to watch all this, how she does this. I just can't imagine, and I don't want to speak for all people, right, or especially victims, but Kim, I'm sorry. If I went through what I went through and Johnny was lying, right, and Johnny did all this to me, and then I lost, I'm not laughing during the interview. Like, I can't even see myself doing an interview because I'd be so distraught at the fact that my abuser got away with it to such a global place. The way she presents herself and laughs, and I'm sorry, it just also takes a knock at her own credibility, because it's like, you're laughing about the randos that came out to discredit you. Like, that's not normal behavior. We had so many people call in with their stories. I don't understand how a smile would even eke in to any portion. And it wasn't like Savannah egged or they were having a jovial conversation. She's literally here mocking the people who came up to defend Johnny. Like, can you believe them? Can you believe that they don't believe that I was SV'd? I mean, it's crazy, right, Savannah? I was SV'd, and these people, it's really weird. You know, it's like, I can't even begin to understand how a face or a smirk like this can eke in. Go ahead.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, I've never been in Amber's situation, so I can't speak to that. And oh gosh, and I would never want to be. But I also, to me, it doesn't look like what you think the logical reaction would be. I do agree with you, Andy, on that. But there's a lot of things of the way that she reacts that I don't think are what people would assume. And I wonder if that has to do with her personality disorders. I wonder if that has to do with a lot of other factors of why she reacts the way that she does. But definitely the way that she's reacting right now to people who don't know the full case, I don't think it looks good to them either. Because she is very about it. And that's not normal at all.
Yeah, she comes off very insensitive to the main topic.
Yes. And the other thing I have to say is when she said the rando comment, are we insinuating that Kate Moss is a rando?
It seems that way.
Are we all like on the same level now as the rando that is Kate Moss?
She is forever the unicorn.
Like, but we've all just been elevated. I'm just saying, you know, all the randos.
Well, I was going to say because we had talked about Hicksville Morgan, but apparently Morgan Tremaine has now also changed his to Rando 2.
Yeah.
Love it. Rando number 2.
Oh my gosh. This
there it is.
Even a bigger movement than anyone expected.
Rando 1 and Rando 2 are officially, there they are. They're in cahoots. We got Rando 1, Morgan from Hicksville, and we got Rando number 2, Morgan from TMZ. God forbid these randos coming forward to perjure themselves. And it's like, if they really did perjure themselves, then sue them. Take them to court. Because they were under oath. Like, come on, Amber. Let's prove that they're lying. Prove that these two randos aren't telling the truth.
Like, especially in Tremaine's case of Spicy Draco, like, wouldn't she want to know how that video got out? This has been my question the entire time with this, is that why was she so against finding out where that video came from? So yeah, if you want to be like, yeah, he perjured himself, this wasn't true, then just come forward with the receipts.
Yeah, exactly.
It was your computer.
You'd want to know. Yeah, exactly. If someone broke into your computer, your phone, an ex-boyfriend or something, you'd be seriously wanting to know what they were doing in your stuff, first of all, and you would be absolutely furious and probably worried about something else that you might have in your phone. Like, come on.
Exactly. And I mean, if it did come forward that we were like, oh, okay, that really was sick. Somebody hacked into her computer, found it, sold it to TMZ behind her back. I would be the first person to be like, that's terrible. That's terrible.
Absolutely.
I take that back. I will not accuse her of that anymore. I was wrong. I would be the first person in line to say that. But I got to see the receipts.
Look who's here.
Agree.
Christopher Melcher is here.
Hello, Mr. Melcher.
So happy to have you. Christopher's going to offer some insight. I wanted to ask about who pays for this. Do people pay for these interviews? I saw, man, you were not lying about those Angelina fans, Christopher. Oh my God. I walked into that hornet's nest and they are brutal and they don't give a crap. They're like, and they were accusing Christopher all these paid interviews. I'm like, show me the pay stubs, girl. And then they were like, well, blah. I'm like, you already were caught lying because you just make up generalizations and craziness. But real quick, we have one more minute. Let's just watch this last minute with Linda. Then I want to get Christopher on. Does NBC get paid? Here we go. We're talking about the mass.
So you don't blame the jury?
I don't blame them. It wasn't, I don't blame them. I actually understand he's a beloved character and people feel they know him. He's a fantastic actor.
Their job is to not be dazzled by that.
Good.
Their job is to look at the facts and the evidence. And they did not believe your testimony or your evidence.
Again, how how could they, after
Again.
listening to 3.5
There it was, Linda. You, how could they was clearly the rehearsed line that she's now
Yes.
used multiple times.
weeks of
Back on track to the script and the preparation that she's clearly monologued with Elaine, whoever, or Whitney.
testimony
Speculating.
about how I was an uncredible person, not to believe a word that came out of my mouth.
Christopher, her excuse is, how could they believe me? There were 3 weeks of testimony just constantly telling people that I was incredible. She seems to forget that there were 3 weeks of the other side down doing the same thing to Johnny Depp. How frustrating is it to watch Amber try to blame not only the jury, but the judge, due process in general? What are your reactions when you saw this?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that she is stuck in this mode of denial. And that's the risk that we take, any of us, if we go to court because we can't resolve our dispute informally. We surrender control to a judge or a jury. And right or wrong, they get to make the decision on who's telling the truth and who isn't. And I mean, this is something I deal with and my clients deal with every day. You know, we lose and it's just like, okay, we don't agree with the outcome, but we got to accept that was the process that we engaged in and we got to move forward. So for her to kind of say like, everyone loves him because he played a pirate in a movie. I mean, that's nonsense. I know, speaking personally, and I saw a lot of people commenting on Twitter. It's like, what, I mean, I like myself, I'm not a big Johnny Depp fan. My favorite movie is Rango, and it's a voiceover.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Mine's Ed
physically
Wood.
appear in that movie.
I don't like the last 2 Pirates movies. Sorry, I'll say it.
Yeah. So I mean, when I started the story, I would have been just as inclined to believe her than him. I mean, I was neutral on it. And so the fact is that we're not just talking about convincing one person who might have been a Johnny Depp fan, even though the demographics of that jury would indicate otherwise. They're pretty younger people.
Right.
But okay, so fine. You got one Johnny fan on the jury. Let's give her that. One rabid Johnny fan. You got 7 people who unanimously agreed to this thing. I mean, how do you convince? I mean, look on Twitter. We can't agree. Get 7 people to agree on something. It's very, very difficult.
It is
And
crazy.
especially when they're under oath and they have to come to a decision. I mean, this is not giving a like to something. This is 7 people sitting in a room and signing their name basically to a piece of paper under oath. Come on.
And I mean, but the other reality is there was, I would say the bulk of the people out there also who were watching all also agreed. Like there wasn't a big, huge contingent of people fighting this. There's obviously a minority of Amber fans and people believing in the Me Too movement, but the ones I've argued with don't even have seemed to watch the trial. It's more the idea of it all that they sort of argue with. And so people who watch the trial, if you really push them, who came in, you know, not really thinking. I've seen a bunch. I saw another women's group. I'm trying to invite them on. Who was like, I went in wanting to listen, to believe and listen to Amber. It was the audio tapes when I turned. Nobody really wants to push her on those, and I hope Savannah does over the course of the day. I want to ask you about payment. We're going to talk about but Linda, did I miss anything else telling that you want to mention regarding tells as we watch this 2-minute clip? I'd love to bring you back when she does the long one, and we will, guys. So make sure, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe. Make sure you are subscribed. They've been unsubbing people. That happens. Hit the bell, hit the like, leave a comment, engage. But Linda, any other comments you want to sort of add as to what you noticed overall from your notes?
I would just say, since we're all smart people where we could pick up on all these things, so I would just say you could feel and see in her face her undertone of like sarcasm. It's almost, I hate to say this, but it's almost like she's just lying to us to our face and laughing at the same time, because the way her facial expressions are, you could just see that she hasn't let go of the verdict and she plans not to. And I believe you just feel that aggressive undertone of sarcasm with her, where, you know, she's talking about the randos with that slip little kind of smile. She's actually belittling the judge, the jury, and the cops, saying that they're randos. They're not paid by Johnny. We had LAPD speaking about this, and they all founded the same result.
Well, she's confident. We can tell that by her body language. She believes what she's saying, right? That's another thing, which is scary. But yeah, it's despicable what this lack of accountability. And I wish someone, if anybody talks to her, Savannah, anybody, what you said you were no saint. Explain. Like, I want someone to really push that one. And I'm still mad Camille didn't jump on it when she had the chance. You said you were no saint. Can you elaborate? What are some things, because I don't hear you taking a lot of fault for anything, Amber. What are some things you do take? What are you not a saint about? What do you take? So I hope somebody, Oprah, whoever the next person is, pass that question along, because I need to hear her answer that one. I'm sure she'll find some spin to it. But now, Christopher, now I'm glad you're here, because I've been wondering, and you brought some interesting insight. Can NBC pay for this interview? Now, what's interesting is if you go, guys, to the private jet footage, some people on TikTok have already discovered this. She's wearing the same wardrobe. So it does seem like one could deduce NBC provided the private jet to her potentially to get her there. Same wardrobe, same hairstyle. It would make more sense why she was in New York, how she got there. NBC probably flew her there to be part of that. That I could kind of get. She wasn't there. She probably requested that. That's one thing. But Christopher, what is this deal with Paul? And I see here NBC, this network blurs policy on no payment for interviews. Can you? What is your thought? Do you think Amber is getting paid for this interview? And can we find out?
So this has been ongoing, and that's an older article. And because I was searching around for Today Show's policies or their parent company, NBC News's policies on journalistic standards on paying for interviews, and there's none published. And so that's pretty hard, first of all, for you to say as an organization that you have standards and we're meeting our standards when you don't expose those standards for us to review and hold people accountable to them. So that's a big warning sign right there when the news organization doesn't say, here's our standards, call us out if we get it wrong. But what they'll concede is that you can't pay for an interview and call it news, because if you're paying for it, it's entertainment. It's scripted TV basically at that point. So the way that they're getting around this, and it's not just Today Show and other networks, it's to pay for expensive travel. And this would work for somebody who maybe doesn't have a lot of money. And it's like, come to New York, all expenses paid, private jet, we'll do all this stuff, hook you up with all this stuff. And they'll treat that as a reimbursement or payment of travel expenses, not paying for your content. The other way that they'll do it is through licensing fees. So when they're putting on Amber, and we'll have to watch for this during the interview, if there's photographs of her, maybe of her child, of her videos, that we call that B-roll. And so who owns that B-roll? Because NBC can't just put that on, or Today Show can't just put that on without paying a licensing fee or owning it themselves. So they're going to sometimes use the licensing fee as a way around this to say, hey, she owned this content. We needed that content for B-roll, kind of background images during our interview, and we paid a reasonable licensing fee. They have done that. They have acknowledged, and I sent you this Today Show article, and this thing goes back. That article's from
2010.
2010. So 12 years ago, they're talking about this blurred policy of not paying for, and this is, again, a Today Show article, right. And they're calling it basically like the equivalent of the 55 mile an hour speed limit. Yeah, sure, it's a law, but how many people drive 55? Right. And so they're acknowledging this, and some of the examples that they're giving in there actually came from NBC News kind of deviations or excursions from what we would normally think are ethical standards. And one was a guy from Brazil who was involved in the custody dispute, and they brought him over private jet, hooked him up at Universal Studios, which is an NBC kind of family thing. I think it was like $90,000 of benefits. There was another one where there was somebody under the 18 who was being interviewed, and they paid her licensing fees for some images that she had, and they paid that into a trust fund for her. Okay, fine, all nice stuff. But again, if you're calling this journalism, you really should be disclosing it and really should be having it as a standard so we can all say, like, hey, this didn't meet those standards. we'll never know unless somebody leaks it. One final point is on that plane that we saw from the TMZ thing. I was trying to get the tail number, but we only got a front shot of it. Because if we get the tail number, then we can figure out who owns it and figure out who chartered it potentially. Newsweek, I saw this morning had an image of the side of a plane with a tail number, and I'm looking at this up and I realize it's the wrong plane, and then they had noted in there that it was stock footage, so total garbage by Newsweek. But at least what I haven't been able to see the tail number of that plane that she was getting off, because it would be very easy then to kind of, well, at least figure out who, what the charter service that's operating the plane would be, and maybe we can get some info that way.
Well, it also just makes sense. She's here with her, does this David Shane, the guy, he is still clearly helping, which is surprising to me given all the hot water he's been in, but I guess she doesn't really have much of a choice right now. Maybe she's getting him at a discount. But yeah, what you said is so sneaky and so true. Hey, we're not paying for the interview, but we'll fly you in. We'll do this. We'll do that. Oh, we're going to buy some B-roll from you. And they can all do it through the publicists and other people. So Amber can then wipe her hands clean, I imagine, right? There's a lot of little sneaky ways that Hollywood does it. Plus, it's like, is Today Show news? Do they label themselves? I guess it is an NBC News exclusive, but they thrust it off into Dateline and they'll put it on Today Show. And I always wonder, is that like sort of the justification of, well, these are more entertainment-based shows. This isn't like NBC News prime time. Yep. So again, who knows what's actually happening, but I find it hard to believe Amber chose this without some sort of benefit for her. Do you agree, Christopher?
Yeah, well, you could see the image there, upper left. They're calling it NBC News exclusive. So, this is a big thing, obviously, to get that interview. This is, something that any network would want.
Well, and to be clear, and we're going to pivot over there, but it's perfect. Like, Today's Show is going to make a fortune off of this interview with ads, promotions. They already did a trailer. They're spurting it over 2 days, and then a Friday evening. Why would you do that unless it's not for ratings, to get the ad dollars, et cetera? And I just don't believe Amber's doing anything just for her health. There's no way she wants to do that.
I mean, it's fine, and it's just like nobody begrudges NBC from making money any more than any other content creator. Although we saw all those articles saying it was somehow evil for.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought it, because that was exactly where I was pivoting you next. I can't even show you this article, guys, because Insider won't let me pay to tell you how Depp trial became a huge income boost for law YouTubers. Here is how much some of the top live streamers earned. I can't even begin. So luckily, I learned a trick today. You use the Internet Archive, paste the link in, and then you don't have to buy it. It doesn't always have the images, it seems, but then you can go through and actually read these. Now, I want to rant on this for a second because I think it's important. I don't really want to read it because, personally, it's not my business how much these people made. And honestly, bravo. I know that both Emily and Legal Bites and Nick busted their ass during this trial to do way more than what the mainstream media did. They were streaming 12 hours a day, nonstop streams, listening. They're lawyers. They were offering their expertise. Get your money. I don't care how much it is. Whatever it was, you deserved every single penny. But that's not how it's being spun on out there. No. And I'm in my own little Twitter beef with Kat from NBC, who I don't understand why they are making this a battle. I mean, I do, because I feel like they're threatened. They're bothered. But this weird spin, here it was, wow, YouTubers who live stream made 6 figures last month in just super chats. And then people were annoyed with her, like, well, how is this news? Why is this anyone's business? And then read the replies for a pulse check on how healthy and normal the discourse around new versus old media is. You are making the discourse, Kat! Like, what the hell is this? And why is this anybody's business? My job is reporting on online culture. But then why did you offer a wow? Why are you so surprised? How much do you make? You offered no comparison to the amount you made, or the Washington Post makes, or Business Insider makes. There's no basis of comparison to tell you that what they made was surprising or more than what others are making in the media. How much is the Today Show making off the interview? How much is the Washington Post making off the defamatory media? Better yet, why don't you take your beef with YouTube, because that's who pays us? And we don't actually get what you're told. These numbers that are in this article are misleading. They're over-exaggerated. I can tell you, I think I'm on the list too. That is not what I made. Their numbers aren't real. And what was really shady to me and really made me sad, and I did speak to all 3 of these privately, because I was but I just was like, did you, to her credit, Emily D. Baker did not give an amount. Emily pushed back and said that number is wrong, and I'm so grateful to my community, yada, 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 all the work we did. Emily gave a great answer, and so props to her. But no, not trying to knock Nick or Alita here, but both of them basically felt this pressure and backed into a corner from my perspective that they were about to be published such a high amount that was inaccurate that they had to then reveal their own pay stubs so people weren't like, oh my God, you made all this money. And the fact that they were sort of shamed into that corner really pisses me off. What other media outlet or news outlet is being pushed to justify their work and their earnings? I'm so over the stigma of YouTube creators not being worthy of making money, or hell, even a lot of money. It's on them. You don't have to choose to watch. You dictate what we make. And I'm telling you, we still don't make what the mainstream media is making. So this weird twist that they're doing is infuriating to me. And I'm disappointed in Kat. I've tried to talk to her personally. I don't understand why she keeps trying to make this a thing. She's not winning. Her likes are not as good as when we fight back. And it just reeks of desperation and frustration. I had a whole beef about this as I was doing it with someone in YouTube. And please leave him alone. I'm not trying. I know this guy, and I'm only pointing this out because he's an old buddy I worked with. He's a good guy. Please leave him alone. But this seems like more of an interference on your part than an implication on Kat's. And I was like, well, then please elaborate how this is. What's the wow? What's the comparison? I've actually spoke to her private. Why are they making this new versus media? He goes, well, publications being shared has a regular series of highlighting how much creators make. So this story, which is solely focused on that, is par for the course. Well, that wasn't in there. I haven't read that. That's news to me. They weren't backed into a corner. And then he sort of goes on. The reason I point off is this guy works for YouTube. Here we have an old buddy of mine who works for YouTube who is just encouraging and seems to be fine with this trend that, yeah, it's nice to know. I think it means the evolutions of creator monetization and earning remarkable amounts. Why is it anyone's business what we make on this platform, and why is YouTube and the system itself still not protecting creators to say it's no one's freaking business? And I implore all creators, all moving forward, you want to know about my fans, go ask YouTube directly. Anything else out there is inaccurate and it's none of your damn business. And in fact, I would implore you to go ask the Washington Post how much they made on the op-ed piece. To me, that should be the standard answer that we all answer, because we got to help each other out and we got to lift each other up. Yes, we make money. No one's denying that. We make money because you pay us. But they use that to then shame us, make a stigma of how dare these people in their garages who are devoting their whole month to really research and invest in this trial to really give you the real facts about it. Whereas a lot of us are just reacting to it very briefly for 15 minutes at a time. How dare we make a living off of it? I'm sick of it, and I'm grateful for you guys who support. That's why I've made this such a big thing of tip and support your creators. I'm not going to allow the stigma to go any further, and I'm going to call out all these jerks who are out there trying to make this a news story, because it's not a news story. All media gets paid, and yes, we deserve to get paid like media does. Christopher, are you surprised to see this shift coming, this new versus old media? Why are you getting paid battle happening in the first place?
Yeah, and it kind of started with Washington Post, one of the people who were involved in this story, in trashing Johnny Depp, in defaming him. And it's, it's so there was an article by them that kind of started this off. And that's why, one of my responses was exactly, it's like, how much is Washington Post made off of this defamatory article? If you think of the amount of times that article has been searched on, the ad revenues that they have received from that, because, it has received an amazing amount of attention, and they continue to monetize what now has been determined to be a defamatory article. Yep. So they have no legitimacy. And to sit there and say that other people who are actually talking about this trial that weren't implicated in the story, because none of us defamed Amber or Johnny Depp and are being sued for it. They're a witness. They're part of the story, but they continue to comment
3 years
on it and starting this attack.
Now I'm logged in. I'm logged in thanks to a way. Thank you. But even logged in, which you have to pay to see this, guys. Even logged in to pay. Now they're already trying to get me to pay another $40 while I'm here. Gift a subscription now while I'm on this page. It's never ending, the amount of money that these sites want. And I wouldn't care if you stop shaming us for making money. This idea that you're not making millions of dollars off of this is insane to me. I want to go back to you, Kim and Linda, to open up the conversation. Does it surprise you to see that now the media is turning to, oh, how dare the YouTubers now got paid during the trial for doing coverage?
Kim, did you want to go first? I could see
I
you
have
just
a,
ready.
I have a Steph rant on this one, to be honest with you. I think what bothers me about this the most is that the people that they have profiled in these articles are experts. They're lawyers. They've passed the bar. They've done their 10,000 hours of becoming experts on this, and they wanted to share their opinion. And then people wanted to thank them for it and sent them a tip. Please explain to me how that is a bad thing.
Right.
I don't understand. I really don't, because the thing is, everybody goes on, tipping is stupid because people make money off of monetization. It's not that much, guys. And the other thing is, depending on what you're talking about, it's not eligible.
Yeah.
And that's a
Correct.
big problem, because it's not even so much about getting the money. It's that if you are not monetized and you're not making money for YouTube does what's called suppressing you. So they push your video down because they don't want people to click on it, because then they don't make money. So not only do they take away your money, but they take away your exposure and your ability to have reach. So in some of these cases, especially when you're talking about DV or SA or things like that, McDonald's doesn't want to advertise a Happy Meal before you start talking about it. There's no money coming. The only money that comes is the tips. And
to be
tips,
clear, also 33% taken out of every tip. Plus
Exactly.
Apple I forgot, they make a point. It's not only just 33% from Google, but then Apple can also take a percentage out, because if you're using on your mobile and it's the mobile app, Apple gets a cut of anything through. It's insane to learn how much Apple gets paid off of every app you use on your iPhone. It's actually really, really unfair to developers. And I would say even to YouTube, like, it's sickening how much control and percentages even Apple takes on top of your 33%.
So I'm assuming that everybody that works at Washington Post that probably is writing these articles makes a good amount of money. I'm assuming you guys have some form of health insurance.
Yep.
Or benefits.
Thank you, Kim.
YouTubers don't have that.
Nope.
It's you have a set, what to expect.
Vacation
of how
time.
to plan your life. Vacation time. All that stuff. Speaking of which, and this was the other thing that really bugs me about this mentality, because I had somebody actually leave a comment on one of my videos about this that basically just said, I hope you've enjoyed your 6-week vacation of covering the story. It's time for you to go back to work and get a job. Girl, I have a full-time job. I also work with Popcorn Planet and give a fair amount of hours into that. Andy, would you be fair on me saying that?
Yeah, thank God some people actually, we started paying you too for it, thank God, yeah.
Okay, so, and then I have my own channel.
Which wasn't monetized. You
know,
busted your ass to get it there.
So I have 3 full-time jobs. So don't tell me I'm not working. And why is it that if I work 3 full-time jobs, I don't deserve to eat?
Yeah. Amen.
Never mind the fact, and I'm not even a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. People like Emily, people like Legal Bites and Nick and Black Belt. These people are excellent. They're excellent. And I'm not saying this to be like, donate to my PayPal. What I'm saying is that people that are so incredible and they're choosing to, out of the goodness of their own heart, knowing that they may not make no money for it whatsoever, when they could be charging people $1,000 an hour in their office to make money, but they still choose to come on here and talk about it and state their opinion. They deserve respect. And I hate seeing this because it's just so ridiculous. I hate it with everything in me. It just,
Yeah,
Sorry.
look, it's a stigma that's been growing
I'm
for a
done.
long time, and well said. And the insurance thing is so scary. Like, I don't have insurance unless my Jami, who has a job that sometimes hasn't, she's in between them now. A long story, but the only times I have it are when she's not with it, because it's so hard to afford when you guys know how it is. And YouTube doesn't help us with that. It's sickening the lack of benefits that YouTube does. And then the stress they cause because there's no rhyme or reason as to how these videos perform for you guys. And sure, yeah, we had a good month with Johnny Depp, way more than usual. Not going to lie. It was a lot of damn work, and I wouldn't have done it and been able to do it as much if you guys hadn't supported the way you did. And we shouldn't be punished for that because you'll see it's not going to be that high for as it was. That was a pop culture phenomenon that, yes, it all helped us. But it's going to allow us to hopefully continue while it gets slower to keep doing this. So again, it's where I'm most frustrated is nobody's damn business. What we make is nobody's damn business. And the fact that these authors are writing these pieces and not disclosing their own salaries proves it, because they should. If you really want to cover these things, do it. Now, if a YouTuber wants to come on and volunteer it on a Business Insider info, then fine. Do what you want. But that's not what this was. These three creators were backed into a corner saying, hey, there's a site out there that says how much you make. There are a few of them. They're not accurate. But we're going to put they did it to Tug, too. That whole article that what's her name? Taylor Lawrence did, where she basically was like, he makes this. She picked the highest exaggerated number and then rounded up and said that's how much he made. It was incredibly wrong.
Purpose.
Never mind that Tug actually took time off of his job to be able to do this coverage for us, because it was so important to him. And you can't tell me that he didn't matter through this trial. They brought him up whenever they could.
And honestly, thank God we get paid a little, because if we didn't, we wouldn't have the time to be able to do it. We'd have to go do something else. And so you guys, and the little bit we managed to let us do this full time, and the generosity of other people in this community, Kim and Linda, everybody, Christopher, we all donated our time to bring this to you the way we did it, as did Emily, as did Legal Bites, as did Nick. And I'm not going to let these media outlets keep trying to stigmatize, oh, well, they got paid. Can you believe they got paid for all the hard work they did this past month? F you. That's insane. That's ridiculous. And anybody out there saying wow to it, I'm calling you out, because I'm over it. I'm going to clip it here. We're not done. Donate to your creators. All you guys that have, thank you so much. We'll get to it and so much more. Well, there you go. We had an amazing show. Black Belt Barrister showed up and so many more. Steph the Alternate came in. You're not going to want to miss the full stream if you missed it live. Don't miss it next time. Hit that join button. Become a member. You can always catch the replays, but next time just catch us live. We'll be back tomorrow on 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually between 1 and 2 is a good time to get us. But if you missed us live, becoming a member helps support the channel and goes against the mainstream media. They hate when you support. In fact, you can cash at me anytime. All these journalists hate when you give me money. So please give us money. But really, just hit that like at least. Hit the subscribe and keep watching. We'll be back tomorrow with more for the Amber interviews. I'm doing it because of you guys. I will read it for you. Stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Planet. If you're watching live, you're going over to Nerd Report. If you are watching on the replay, click on one of these.